Hello, everyone. Welcome to your Spark session. Let us know where you are dialing in from. I'm from London, UK. Anyone in the UK representing this evening?
Shout out from the UK. I'm here from the States on the West Coast. So yeah, throw into the chat where you're coming from, and we're excited to see y'all.
Amazing, amazing. So let's get into it with this session. So, this session is about AI leadership lessons that blow up and how to avoid them. So, we're going to start with a little bit of confession time. We've all seen leadership decisions made with the best intention that then imploded in the wild. So, we're going to walk through 5 of the most common AI leadership decisions that backfire. And we're not here to spook you out, we're not here to freak you out. We're here to help you recognize some of the pitfalls so you don't end up starring in the next cautionary tale.
And if you see yourself in these examples, it's okay. A lot of us have been there.
Exactly. So, decision number one is shut it down until it's safe. So, on the surface, let's hold off until AI is completely safe. Sounds like the responsible call, right? You want to protect your team, your data, your reputation. It's your instinct. We totally get that. But curiosity, it doesn't stop, does it? We're human. People start tinkering anyway, off the clock, maybe on personal devices and little side projects. And that's what we mean by shadow AI mode. But the tricky thing is, you do not want people experimenting in the dark, not without guidance or guardrails, right? St. Gotham City. What you want is for your people to explore. And they can do that safely, but not if everything's shut down. Maybe they don't know which tools are approved, or even basic things like switching off chat history before pasting in information, or knowing to label early outputs as AI draft.
Yeah, and what we found is you can't pause curiosity. You can't stop people from being curious and wanting to engage. It's better to channel that than pretend it's not happening. Give those guardrails and make it safe, but don't try to shut it down.
Yeah, exactly. And so what we see happening is instead of reducing risk, leaders press pause. But all that does is it pushes it out of sight where it's harder to manage. And when that beautiful piece of content slips out unreviewed, or when someone unknowingly pastes in sensitive information, that can lead to reputational fire. We don't want that to happen. The more constructive approach, it's not a freeze, it's setting your boundaries early. It's things like having a safe, transparent framework to begin with, simple do's and don'ts like using approved platforms, redacting sensitive information, fact checking every output, even getting a colleague to scan anything that leaves the virtual room. That way, curiosity still happens, but it happens in the daylight and not in the shadows.
That's right. So pop into the comments if you've experienced this. Maybe you made those decisions. Maybe you were the leader. Maybe you saw it, and we'd love to hear from it.
We'd love to hear that. Decision number two is, oh, okay, this is one we see a lot, right, Stephen? It's the let's wait and see as a strategy.
That's
Now,
right.
look,
Let's see how AI shakes out, and we'll get into it in a few years, right?
exactly right. And now, look, you're obviously curious, or else you wouldn't be here at the FIA summit. But ask yourself, what exactly are you waiting for? Sometimes AI adoption is stalled in the name of prudence. We use words like let's be cautious or let's be careful. But what it really is paralysis with better branding. And look, we know we're being cheeky here. We are play. But while you're holding back, your peers are moving forward. They're experimenting, they're learning, they're building muscles with these tools. And that learning curve is exactly where the advantage sits. And
Hmm.
now, don't get me wrong, you don't need to chase every shiny new thing. But if you do sit in caution on the sidelines until it feels safe, you're missing out on huge opportunities to transform the way you work in ways you never imagined. So, what is your next move? We recommend to start with small intentional steps now. Pick 1 or 2 safe use cases, set your boundaries, and let your team learn in a really controlled way. That way, you're not playing catch up, but you're pacing yourself while embracing that spirit of innovation.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note here. There's two aspects of the impact of waiting, right? One is your competitors, that your peers are moving on without you, right? But it's not about that for us, right? It's about the mission. It's about the people we're serving. they
Yeah,
are the ones that aren't going to see the value if we continue to sit and wait.
that's so true. That's so true, Stephen. So, decision number 3 that we see is pilot purgatory. So it sounds really, really dramatic, pilot purgatory, but you know the drill, okay? Endless pilots, endless experiments, slide decks about the slide decks about the slide decks about the pilots. But when do we actually start? Okay, we hear you cry. And then someone else throws in, let's circle back. That phrase that makes me roll my eyes so far to the back of my head, I can see my plants growing. But we are big fans of pilots, especially though when they get activated. If they
Hmm.
don't, people do get fatigued and the energy just gets sucked dry. Pilots are meant to be launch pads. We want more of you to be asking, what happens if this works? If you're not asking that, maybe you shouldn't be piloting it in the first place, right, Steve?
That's right. And at some point, you have to circle back, right? Or I should say, you have to stop circling back and you got to move forward, right? And actually take off and get that lift off.
Yeah, absolutely. So the opportunity for you here is to design with scale in mind. Start small, yes, but know where it's going if it succeeds. I'm going to say that again. Know where it's going if it succeeds. Okay, did you catch that? That's really how you build momentum instead of burning it.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to the next one is
Cracking
decision
on,
number,
as you would say,
yeah,
Esther.
cracking on. Decision number 4, which is the tool first shopping spree. Now, we love a good shopping spree, don't we, Stephen?
Sure, who doesn't? And in this space, there's always the big shiny thing, and there's fancy demos, and there's big promises. And I think a lot of this stuff with any technology or tool stack, right? It sits on the shelf. 6 months later, you realize no one's using it. You're not getting any value out of it. That fancy PowerPoint that somebody sold you on 6 months ago isn't, you haven't realized it.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this time and time again, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, I love to shop, but to use a different analogy, my kitchen drawer right now, full of gadgets I only use twice, right? Who's with me? Manual, long gone.
Yeah, Shark
And
Shark
we
Tank, anyone?
right? And we see the same thing in organizations we work with too. But what's the big deal about that? It's that buying the tool before you know the use case. It's not the tech that creates the value, it's how your team uses it that does. So investing in tools before you know why you want to use them is like that kitchen drawer. And seriously, it's so expensive for your organization. So before you dive into shiny new tools and subscriptions, start with the pain points. Okay, our brains are literally wired for seeing problems, so this shouldn't be an issue for us. That said, here are some questions for you to think about, a bit of provocation. What problem are you solving? Are you buying a platform or are you buying another problem that you don't yet understand? What workflow are you improving? What's your plan for the messy middle? What we mean by that is the months when adoption is a bit clunky and enthusiasm can dip. What's the real cost here? Is it the license fee or is it the hours of time that your team is going to spend wasting trying to make it fit? And finally, how will you know if this tool actually delivers value? Before the renewal invoice hits? Again, we've all been there. So if you're not thinking of these, perhaps you're not investing in AI wisely. You're just collecting another, I don't know, cordless milk frother from IKEA. It's fun for 5 minutes and then it's forgotten. So the smarter move is problem first, tool second. Okay, problem first, tool second. That way your AI tools follow the need and not the other way around. And then finally is the efficiency trap. So this is when leaders pitch AI as a cost-cutting machine. They say things like, we'll save money, we'll reduce headcount, we'll be more efficient, okay? Which sounds smart, right? But what your team hears is job cuts. And
Hmm.
potentially what your funders hear is, oh, smaller budget required. Suddenly you freaked out the people that you need the most. I mean, even just saying that makes me feel twitchy.
Right? Yeah, a little bit of goosebumps going on.
Right? So efficiency shouldn't be a side benefit. Oh, or should I say, efficiency should be a side benefit and not the headline. So if you lead with savings, you shrink the vision. But if you lead with capability, you expand it. So you want to ask yourself questions like, does this narrative make my team feel empowered or disposable? And does it inspire funders to invest more or less? AI
And
done well isn't about fewer people, it's about better work, sharper insights, stronger creativity, deeper impact. That right there is a story that grows confidence rather than diminish it.
that's right. And the whole tone you set with your team from the work we've done and the research that we've been reading, it's so important to have leadership and people on the ground, the people that are doing the work with the tools, the AI champions, as we like to call them, that are in your org, excited and engaging with how to design that and develop these tools and build out those use cases. And if they're scared about job cuts and this word efficiency, they're not going to engage in that way. So it's really a huge multiplier to reframe it and get away from those words of efficiency and see that your people are going to really light up.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a really good common thread here. We'll talk a little bit about AI champions in our next Spark session as well. But the common thread is that leaders who thrive with AI, they're not the ones that play it safest. Our challenge really to you is simple. Don't wait for perfect. Don't hide behind pilots, and definitely don't let AI become just another shiny, tool in your budget line. Set those boundaries, ask the right questions, and start moving one intentional step at a time. So there you have it. Thank you for listening.
I think that's it. Do we do it? Do we do it in 10 minutes? Just over?
Bye.
We're pretty close. So, you're going to see this in the other Spark sessions. Jump onto the next session with us here on the Spark stage. But from last year, the number one thing we heard from you all and from folks that came was like, this is so great. It's changed my life. What's next? And that's why we created this 3-week immersion to answer that question. There's 2 tracks, one for leadership, one for capability. And we really hope some of y'all join us, and we'll see you there.